Hot chocolate, Azure Cosmos Entity Framework, Power Tools, Technology Suite,
Countdown commencing. T-minus 2 minutes.
Jeremy Lickness,
Shiro Jensen,
Chris Jensen,
Arthur Vickers.
.NET data. T-minus 1 minute. Thirty seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff. We are go for .NET Data Community Stand-Up.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. It's another month. That means another .NET Data Community Stand-Up. Today, we have a host that probably does not need an introduction, and you probably know the name. But as usual, before we jump into today's topic, let's do a little bit of recap what's available and what you can try and play with. So the preview 6 of .NET 11, including Entity Framework Core 11, is out for a couple of days. I don't know, like 9 days or something like that. So you can play with that. In fact, we as a team, as a .NET team, we are now preparing preview 7 to be like packaged and built and everything, which is the last preview of .NET 11. After that, we will enter the release candidate stage. So if you have some feedback and some big changes that you would like to see, this is your last chance to play with EF Core and change the direction. Once we are past that, any changes will go into the next version. At least any big changes will go into the next versions. Obviously, we will continue working on documentation and polishing and bug fixing and stuff like that. But no new big features will be added after that point. And we are pretty close to that point. So definitely give it a try. Report some issues if you find something is not working and stuff like that. Or just say, hey, this works, this does not work, we like it, we don't like it. So you can still change, we can still change it while we are in this preview phase. After that, it will be a little bit more difficult. As usual, let me give you a small recap of what's available in preview 7, at least the quick rundown. You can find the whole documentation and everything on GitHub. A couple of new translations for the link queries. We now have full support for full join, full outer join. So if you are using full join method, now it's properly translated. There is also an improvement on translating the conditional statements. So instead of having case when something, then null else something, we now use the null if that makes the SQL a little bit shorter, probably a little bit easier to read. Also, we have a lot of stuff where some null checks are being removed. So the basically propagation of null items is now a little bit smarter. So queries that usually had like, hey, if something is not null, then do this. If this is null, then do that. And you said, well, this is never going to be null because XYZ. Then it will be shorter with just a column or just a function or something like that. Pretty nice addition. If you are using list.exists function, we can now translate it, or we will rewrite it into basically queryable.any, and it's then later translated into the normal SQL that you would expect. Some small translations in SQLite around what is supported, what is not, like some pieces from time only and stuff like that. Then we have the infrastructure improvements like keys, JSON indexes, unconstrained foreign key relationships, obviously improvements in the Azure Cosmos DB. There's a bunch of those, bunch of improvements in the migrations, like wildcard supports and stuff like that. And obviously, bunch of bug fixes. As I said, the list is available on GitHub, so you can definitely check that out. Awesome. So let me bring in our guest for today. You probably know his name. He is quite well known in Entity Framework and all the data related stuff. In fact, you can hear his voice in the initial graphics that we are running before we start. So everything Power Tools basically means it's Erik. So welcome, Erik. Happy to have you again.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me again.
Awesome. Today's topic, obviously, because it's Erik, is again some Power Tools. Now we will be talking about SQL Database Project Power Tools. That's a lot of P.
That's a lot of words.
A lot of words, exactly.
Yes.
And I don't want to mix it up. Basically,
No.
Power Tools. If you ever see some project that's related to data and it's called Power Tools, it's Erik. He's been doing this for longer than anybody. He's been in the Power Tools for a long time. And if
In
you are
the Power
doing
Tools
anything,
business.
Power Tools business, exactly. And if you're doing anything data related or entity framework related, and you want to speed up what you are doing, and you are doing it a lot, definitely check all the Power Tools. Check previous shows that we've had on Power Tools. But today, we will be talking about SQL Database Project. But before we start, Erik, in case, I know that's hard to believe, in case somebody does not know you, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Ejlskov Jensen, and I'm a consultant with a Danish consulting company called Context and I create custom solutions for customers in that company. And I use a lot of my own tools to make life easier for myself and create better solutions and faster for my customers. And a lot of those tools, as you say, are related to something data. EF Core, database projects, SQLite, whatever. When I feel that there's something missing in the tool stack, maybe I will do it.
Right.
Yeah. So I've been a Microsoft MVP, I suppose, because of some of those tools for at least one of the reasons for a number of years, and I just got renewed this month again.
Congrats.
So that was really nice news. Thanks a lot. That's about it for me.
Great. I like tools that are basically created out of authors' needs, which is so true for all your tools, because that basically means these tools have like a real world, they're scratching the real world itch, and with your tools, be it Entity Framework, Power Tools, or any other. It's definitely that. So yeah, you want to.
Absolutely. Yeah, basically, I would. It's thanks to my users, thanks to people coming with good and sometimes not so good ideas on GitHub and suggesting stuff. That's a lot of reason why the tools have become what they are today.
Yeah.
So it's not just me sitting in a closed room somewhere. It's after dialogue with what the community feels makes sense and adds value. So
Right.
yes. With that, let's go
I
to.
will-
Sorry.
I will quickly answer one of the questions
Of
that
course.
we got on the basically the preview stuff and related.
Yes.
There was a question: version 11 is a short-term release. Well, yes and no. It's not called short-term release. It's standard, but it's the shorter one. The other one is LTS, which was 10 and will be the 12. It's always the other version. So version 11 is the short. We don't call it short, we call it standard, but it's the shorter one out of those two. Although we not recently, but we made
so long ago.
small changes with the times basically, so it's a little bit longer than it used to be.
And I think it's LTS is 3 years and standard is 2 years, and it used to be
That's
18
correct.
months or something like that.
That's correct. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Do you want screen?
Yeah, why not?
Let's
I
do
will
it.
get rid of this and open this instead. So yeah, so as can you see am I sharing my screen now? Cool. So as I mentioned, I have a presence on GitHub where I host all my tools, and they're all somehow data related because I think that's an interesting topic and a place where there's always room for making things better for developers. So yes, and today we're talking about SQL Database Project Power Tools, which is a Visual Studio and SSMS SQL Server Management Studio extension. I was a little bit in doubt whether I would actually, we joked a little bit about this power tools thing, but yes, it's recognizable. It's just a small collection of some small tools. Is it power tools? I don't know.
It's fine. Maybe
It's
just
fine.
to kind of refresh memory, let's say, of our viewers, what is the database project?
Exactly. So maybe some of you don't even know what a database project is. So that database project is a project that holds a set of SQL files that define the schema of the database that your application is going to work with. Those elements, as you can see here on the very nice graphic on the Microsoft documentation site, learn.microsoft.com, is pre-deployment script and post-deployment script. Will not super important, but the main thing is that the main part of it is the database object definitions, which basically consists of SQL scripts with create statements. Anything you can create inside a database, not only tables, indexes, and stored procedures, but any object you can create inside SQL Server, you can define in this project type. And then when you build it, as you can see on the arrow, the outcome of that is a zip file called a structured zip file called a DACPAC, which is like, this is like something, a little package you can carry, for example, in your pipeline for deploying to various environments and so on. All this is built on a framework that's available as a NuGet package called DACFX. So anything you can imagine, you can use, you can build on top of that framework. And SQL Database Project Power Tools takes advantage of some of the APIs inside that framework and enhances it with various features or exposes various features. So once you have your project, and the project file can, for example, in Microsoft, the case of Microsoft project types, be called SQL Proj. I'm also contributor to an alternative project style, which actually ends in CS Proj. Not super important. The thing is, it's a project file that contains SQL files inside it, and the build process produces a DAC pack. And then there's a deployment process that exercises the magic juice, so to speak, by comparing what is in the DAC pack, the description, the desired state of your database, so to speak, with your running database, and then makes changes to your running database in a non-destructive manner. So the schema that is in the running database is a one-to-one reflection of your desired schema inside the DAC pack. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does, yeah.
Thanks you. So that is in very few words what a database project is. So you get a lot of advantages by the fact that you now have your database schema under source control, instead of just scattered SQL files in a folder somewhere. And we will dive into what some of those advantages are when we go into the demo.
I have a question.
Fantastic. Yes, we will
Maybe
jump
you
right
answer
into
it
it.
later. I'm not super familiar with this type of project. I know what a DAC pack is, and I used it a couple of times. But mostly the DAC pack, which is the result of the build. With the project, is there some kind of validation, like syntax type or stuff like that when I'm building it?
Yes, exactly. So you're building it, and it has the ability to look at all your objects as a whole. So for example, if you have foreign keys, or if you have stored procedures that refer to other objects, if those foreign keys are referring to tables that do not exist inside your database, or if your views or stored procedures are referring to objects that are not actually inside database, or you have a spelling mistake or whatever, then you will actually get build errors because you have an inconsistent model. On top of that, you can actually also do static code analysis. It's like the next level. It's similar to what you can do with C#, and you can build a C# product. You can have the syntax so wrong that it cannot build. That is the build errors you get. But you can also do things. You can do things in very many ways in C#. And there's opinions about good or better or not so good ways of doing things, and that is implemented in Roslyn analyzers, both from Microsoft and from third parties. And you can do a similar process as part of your build to check for bad practices in your SQL scripts, in your table design, in your view design, in your stored procedure design.
Nice.
Yes. So SQL Database Project Power Tools you can get by going into Visual Studio and search for SQL Database Project Power Tools in the Extensions Manager. You can also go to Visual Studio Marketplace, as we see on the screen here, and download it and install it for Visual Studio. One of the reasons I made this was the fact that I'm a big maintainer. I'm one of the maintainers on this alternative way of building DAC packs, which is cross-platform. And at the point of where this project was started, Microsoft didn't really have a cross-platform story for building DAC packs, which meant that if you wanted to build your solution on a Linux box, you can easily build .NET apps on a Linux agent, as we all know probably. But in order to build your database project, you will actually have to spin up a Windows agent and do a separate build of that project, even though it's part of your solutions kind of should actually be deployed together with the rest of your application. because now you have added a new table to support a new feature in your app, so you want to deploy those things at the same time. But a community person created this alternative way of cross-platform builds, because he was actually using a Mac and was annoyed that he couldn't build dark packs on it. So that's one of the reasons why I created this project. The other reason why I already had some small nice features in the drawer, and I thought it would be nice to package them. So a lot of these features are mainly for the purpose of supporting this build-based project type, which we'll dive into later. But the other reason was to expose these additional things you can do with a dark pack to everybody that uses a database product, no matter which one it is. And I have a little, so I have this little feature comparison here. I also have a big feature comparison here. It's in our project. But the thing is that the classical SQL Proj, it's .NET framework based and only builds on Windows, and it's fully supported in Visual Studio. And then Microsoft has a product which is very similar to the original way of building SQL projects on a cross-platform agent and support package references, all the modern things you can do with .NET.
Yeah.
But this came a couple of years after this one came, which is this community contribution. It's not supported in Visual Studio, but it's supported in VS Code, in SQL Server Management Studio, and I've written Rider here. I don't know. I'm guessing. I think it probably will work in Rider. I would imagine. The classical SQL Proj is only supported in Visual Studio. And the project that I've helped maintain here is supported, but not really with any GUI functionality inside Visual Studio. So that's why that's one of the reasons why I created SQL Database Project Power Tools. It's partially supported in VS Code. It's a .NET project, so you can open it and view the files in it. You can build it and you can publish it and you can pack it and do things like all the .NET gestures. It supports all those gestures.
Right.
Yeah. But there's not really any tooling support as such. It's a little bit confusing. I'm sure one day it will all go up in flames and we will all be using Microsoft build.sql. But yeah, that time has not come yet. But eventually it will.
One day.
One day, yes.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, SQL Database Projects Power Tools can contribute to your project no matter what type of project you're using, and it supports Visual Studio and SSMS. It does not work in VS Code or any other development tool, for example, Rider. So, back to the gallery page here. So it's easy to acquire this if you're in Visual Studio. SQL Server Management Studio is based on the same foundation as Visual Studio, we can say, but it's just wrapped in a different way, so it looks completely different, and it's for database administrators and database developers mainly. But you can actually also enable extensions. It's not supported. Let me put that straight. But it's possible. It's technically possible to bootstrap extensions in SQL Server Management Studio because it's underneath is just Visual Studio, and there's no. Previously with Management Studio, it's like you had to get allow listed in order to be able even to load your extension. Now it's not. There's no constraints anymore. There's no support for if you call in, say Management Studio is not working and you have a lot of third-party extensions installed in Management Studio, don't expect any support, basically.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. That's what it is. So in order to grow the SSMS, SSMS community of extensions. I've actually launched this website which hosts the extensions for installing and discovering them. See, there's not so many. It's like there's 8 extensions at the moment, but you have to start somewhere. Including, of course, SQL Database Project Power Tools. So that's the easy way to acquire this extension for Management Studio. And some community person has also made an extension manager, like a standalone app available. That's so if you want to manage your extensions, like updating and potentially even removing them, that is a tool that is a potential tool that you can use to do that. Again, there's no facility inside SSMS to actually do that.
Okay, we have a
Yes.
question that's actually
Yes.
related to what we are talking about. Let me bring it on
Yes.
screen.
Mhm.
And the question is, hello, is the same extension, probably is this the same extensions that that in VS Code is called SQL Database Projects?
No, it's not. That is a Microsoft supplied extension for the MS Build project type, as we can see in this feature comparison. SQL Database Projects extension. See here?
Yes.
Yes, that supports Microsoft Build SQL project types in VS Code, and it does it very well. So it's not the same.
Good.
Yes. So without further ado, I'm now jumping straight into Visual Studio, and we will create a new project. So this package also provides templates to create new projects. So I will select SQL Server Database Project, MS Build SDK SQL Project, which is this, again, community project. It's been around for like many years. Everything is relative, but yeah. And it's working well inside Visual Studio. So we'll create a new project. Let's just call it SQL Project 3. That's a good name. And we can, when we create a new project, we can make some various choices about what kind of engine version we are supporting. It's a little bit obscure here, but actually SQL 160 is SQL Server 2022 and 170 is 2025. So let's just go with 2025. And then we can enable or disable various features. So we can enable code analysis, which is I talked about, like this Roslyn's-like experience to some extent. And we can also enable creating a ER diagram. I will just skip that for now, but it's possible. So with that, it will create a project for us and write it to disk eventually. And let me just zoom in here. So you should be able to see in Solution Explorer, see the project file, and there's a README file that we drop, just linking to more documentation. And because I have Power Tools installed, it actually showing that when we build this will be the build output of this project. So and let's have a look inside the project file itself. So it's called an SDK project. I won't dive into that, but it's basically a way of using the .NET build system and MS Build to do your own thing inside a project file. It's the extension of this file is CS_proj, but it's not like it knows what to do with CS files or anything like that. It only responds well to SQL files. And then we have those questions we asked earlier. So like the SQL Server version, and we will want to run code analysis, and we selected this to false. And then we have the analyzers here. I will actually just update this to the latest. So this is a NuGet package that contains this analyzer for static code analysis. So when we look here, we can see there's not actually any object files. There's no SQL scripts in it. So we can go and say add new item, show the templates, and we supply some templates for creating a database template, for example.
Yeah.
As part of a template pack, it will just scaffold a new table like this. So you can start from scratch, create table, create index, create view, create stored procedure, etc. That's one way, one approach. But often what you actually want to do is, that's certainly my experience, is that you have an existing database which until now has not been under source control,
Yeah.
and you would actually like to put it under source control from now on, instead of managing it in various complicated ways outside of source control. So in order to do that, we can actually connect to an existing database and import it. So this will actually take all the object definitions from this database I just pointed to, which is the Chinook database. It's a nice sample database that's available on GitHub. It models a music store with artists and albums and tracks and customers and invoices and things like that. So now it has, it's a little bit hard to see, but I actually made a folder called DBO, where it's extracted a file for each table. So if we look into these, it has extracted create statements for the album table and then an index file. Yes. You will notice some squiggles. It's because I have another of my extensions installed that does like kind of live analysis. So it's already screaming at us with things we're doing wrong. Yeah, so it is.
But it's not your fault. It's the sample database, right?
It's not I didn't design this database, no.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
it's fine.
Interestingly, I can excuse myself. Yes. So it's extract views and the tables. If it had stored procedures, if it had any other object types, those object types would be extracted as well. So with that, we can now build the DAC pack. Yeah. Yeah, I have some problems with this. There's a feature here. It works most of the time. Like you can actually see the content of the DAC pack in Solution Explorer, except we can't just now. But maybe if we do like this, there's some refresh.
It always works.
Yeah, I will fix it. But this actually is, like I said before, the DAC pack is a zip file, and this is the contents of that zip file. So you can see there's no .SQL scripts inside the file. Interestingly, maybe you would expect that, but that's actually not the case. There's a huge XML file instead called model XML, which we can open and double click and see here. And it contains all the definitions for all the objects inside the database, split out in atoms in XML. So it's an object model of our database schema. It's not just text. It's now been a recent object model, and that's how you can actually build the project. And like, let's just see if we have some artist. That we had some album. We had some artist here. So if we do like this, I will probably start to get compilation errors actually. So there is no object in this database. There's no table or view called albums. So if I build the project now, if I rebuild the project now, I will actually get some errors that this has an unresolved reference. So it knows about the internal structure of the database as a whole. It's not just random snippets of script.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. That was an import database feature of SQL Project Power Tools we just saw there.
And it's
So
really nice because I would expect that like either people are already using it, they probably don't watch the show, but if they are seeing this for the first time and they're like, hey, this is really nice, I would like to start using with my database, then
Yes.
importing is like, hey, 5 seconds and I'm done.
Exactly. And then you have your database syntax checked. There can be potentially be errors in like your sub procedures, spelling errors that have not been caught during compilation. And you will actually be able to make changes to your database objects and deploy them to your running systems as a package and not as a random SQL scripts.
Right.
So we can also add post and pre-deployment scripts, and those are scripts that kind of run a little bit earlier than just making the schema changes for the indexes and the tables and all those. And the post-deployment scripts runs after the schema has reached its desired state. So what you can do with those scripts, so we can add them to our project, and we actually have like a little snippet here basically that adds them in the those are also SQL files, but they're not included in the build, so they are special items that are post-deploy items or pre-deploy items. And that is because they're in a special folder with a special name. So having this feature for actually getting the folder name right and then kind of scaffolding out the initial post and pre-deployment scripts is very helpful in this context.
Definitely.
So they're not really doing anything now, but you can actually, for example, I often use them for populating. I know ErikEJ has similar things, but you can use it for pre-populating tables that you, for example, some people have enum tables with a key and a value in them. So you can have a script, a merge script to pre-populate them in your post-deployment script. So after the table has been created for holding those enums, then you can actually add some data to it. Those scripts need to be idempotent because they're actually running every time you publish your database project. Every time you deploy your project, that script will run. So it needs to be idempotent. It can't just be raw insert statements because the next time they run, they will fail due to key violations and things like that. So I have also added a feature that can easily generate table data. So sometimes you actually have this seeded data somewhere in a table somewhere, potentially. If that is the case, then you can point to an existing database with data in it and say, for the artist table, I would actually like to just seed my database with all the artists, with a list of all the artists. So I'm pointing to that table now with my with Power Tools, and that will create a merge script based on this GitHub project, which is like the accumulated knowledge of how to do merge in the right way, accumulated over 30 years or something like that. Maybe 25.
And that also means that now if somebody is doing this like manually, the initial stuff, they can take this as an example and then
indeed as a good example structure. And of course I think it usually does both the delete and so this is basically like the single source of truth for the content of this table. So if you delete a row here or add one, it will be automatically moved or updated or whatever, because of this merge statement, which also does the delete down here, as you can see. So yes, you can modify this, but this is like, it has special coding for handling errors and has a correct comparison against all the irrelevant columns, even for tables that don't have a primary key and all those things. It
Right.
knows how to do those things right. And if you try to do it yourself, you can easily shoot yourself in the foot, like serializable.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you have to think about when you're doing merge, because it's not straightforward. But this tools helps you do it right. And then this will actually run as part of your deployment, as part of your publish. Every time this package is published,
Yeah.
it will run this merge statement. Okay. So now let's see what happens when we add a new column to valid bit null, for example. So now we've added a new column. Or maybe we are in a temporary state where we actually have some people do still stuff on the database, and we have our database project trying to keep things in sync. So what can we do to actually remedy that? So I have a Visual Schema Compare preview feature. I actually originally created this to also support the SSMS version. This has now been implemented by Microsoft, probably in a much better way, but for this project type is still valuable. So you can say what is your source, so you can compare against a database. The project you can compare against a running database, and you can have either your database as the source of truth or your project as the source of truth.
Right.
So let's just try with see what happens when we have our project as a source of truth. So what it's doing now, and it's not fast. It's now looking at the schema of the live database, the Chinook database that I have running on my local SQL Server Express instance, and comparing that with a database project. And then if it finds any differences, it will be shown in this UI, and you can script the differences to update your database, or you can apply the differences to your project, from if you have a new table in your live database that you want to incorporate in your project. It's excruciatingly slow, unfortunately. Some things happened there. Oh yeah, I found something here. There's a change. So you can see it found a change and it's highlighted. This is actually in our project, but it's not in the target database. And then it can actually create a deployment script. It's a little bit ugly, but that's just how it is. But the gist of it actually will run this at the end of the day, after all this other stuff. It will actually run this nice alter table command. So this is a way to kind of manually do what the publish does, basically, looking under the covers of what publishing a database project does. Okay. And finally, we can also, I'm deliberately not diving a lot into the code analysis part. Maybe we can have some follow-up on that later, because it's a kind of can be a broad topic. Another feature, let me just quickly mention this, is the fact that you can actually also scaffold a SQL MCP server with this tool.
Interesting.
Yes, so I said I promised. No, no, I didn't. So this is actually a tool that Microsoft provides, an open source tool. It's a .NET tool, .NET console app, basically, that runs a REST server, and it also has ability to be pointed to a database and then expose parts of that database as REST endpoints, without any code, simply just a JSON configuration file.
Yeah.
It also has an MCP server with various tools that can list the tables in a database and manipulate some of them and so on. So it's built on top of the REST API, so to speak, but it's and it's using the same security model, and it's like it only knows about the tables that you have decided to expose by the configuration. So I did a small demo of this together with Robert Green on Visual Studio Toolbox last fall, that you can probably find on the internet somewhere. But basically, it's a really powerful way to expose your SQL server both as a REST API and a MCP server as a very controlled MCP server without writing any code other than code which is JSON. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. You don't need to write. You don't need to author an API. You just need to tell the tool what tables you want to expose.
Right.
And it's really complicated to. Until recently, there's some tooling now in VS Code. Until recently, it was really complex to author this JSON file because it's power. With great power comes great complexity, apparently.
Right.
Yeah. So this is like a helper to bootstrap you, or in authoring that config file.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just try to run this. So I have this taste of code analysis included with the tool as well, which will analyze the entire project and tell us what issues it found. With links to the issues and the explanation of it. It's a lot about naming, as we can see. We don't follow the naming standard. The nice thing about the rules is actually the naming standard is customizable. So but it's a little bit.
But I like the naming rules and everything, because I've worked on a project where the database was like 15 years old.
Yes.
But because it has strong naming rules,
yes,
it was quite easy to work with, because every table was like exactly the same as the other. Like primary key was always this, and foreign key was always this. So it was easy to find stuff in there.
Yeah, exactly. So it also has interesting rules like avoid using columns that match other columns by name in the database but are different in type or size. So if you have a column name, I don't know which column this exactly is, but name, I think. So when you have a column called name, it's a good practice to have it always the same and not differentiate. Name is probably a little bit of a far-fetched example, but I get the inclination to do this. As you say, it makes it much easier to read and understand the schema when you're just coming in and looking at it from the outside.
Exactly.
And then I list all the rules that are available and so on. We also have I will just quickly show this again. This whole topic of rules probably deserves a deeper dive some other time. But we have ways of managing how the rules, whether the rules should be treated as warnings or errors, and we can also disable and enable them. And this will actually just update the project file with some settings. And there's also link to the documentation for the rules. This includes both. Microsoft supplies about 14 rules, and I have a library that supplies another 130 rules, and we have linked to the documentation. So all that is just like a teaser, basically, for something else that people are very welcome to dive into. I have a lot of blog posts about all of this, of course. So yes. The final thing I'm going to show in Power Tools is the ability to create a ER diagram, entity relationship diagram, based on your database.
Nice. I'm looking for this.
So it allows you to pick exactly which part of the database you actually want to diagram. So we have the album, the artist. We don't want this genre, media type. track everything about the actual music itself. We don't want all the
Yeah.
business
Right.
part and playlists. That's not so interesting for us. So this will include only those tables I selected, and recently Visual Studio and also SQL Server Management Studio as well, because it's based on Visual Studio, gained support for viewing mermaid diagrams. As you can
Yes.
see, it's basically just a is it YAML? I don't know. Maybe it is.
Kind of. Yeah. It's just a
Yeah,
mermaid.
it's
Yeah.
kind of indented. It's kind of indented text anyway. So I suppose
Yeah.
it is kind of YAML. But it has the ability to actually render these YAML diagrams. So if we say open preview here, it
And
will
GitHub can show these diagrams as well, or any mermaid diagrams, which
GitHub.
is nice.
You can take this markdown.
Yeah.
Just take this lump of markdown here and paste it into your GitHub
Yeah.
README or whatever, and it's very powerful. It supports all kinds of diagrams, not only entity relationship diagrams, any type of diagram you can think of, basically, and they all render in GitHub, and
Yeah.
also finally now in also in Visual Studio, and then you have
What
this
I like
nice.
especially is that you can paste it into like your wiki page, and
Exactly.
if it needs to be updated, it's just a text that needs to be updated, but it's still shown as a picture. So that's a great
Yes.
improvement compared to a couple of years ago where
Where
we
you just
maybe
had to
had
paste in
picture.
a PNG or something like SVD or something
Exactly,
like that. Yeah,
exactly. And
yeah,
then if you
exactly.
updated something, you need
Yeah,
to regenerate it, then you lost
yeah,
the original file or
yeah,
something. Mermaid
exactly.
diagrams are so
Exactly.
nice.
Yeah. But now notice that we actually this was actually a manually process of us doing something to actually create the
Uh-huh.
diagram. So if we update the schema, so as you can see, it has a valid column because it's now in the schema,
Yeah,
which I just added. I think it looks quite nice, this diagram.
yeah,
If there's
it does.
any,
Yeah,
I invented how all this looks. So if there's feedback on it, there's certain constraints about the names look a bit strange, but that's because Mermaid has certain constraints about this. Actually, has to be like one word. This column here, yeah.
right.
So that's why it looks a bit off, but it's nice, I think, and certainly helpful for communicating your database design with the stakeholders
Absolutely.
that are not familiar with reading SQL scripts. But it gets better. That's not related to Power Tools, but in the project file, in this particular project file, we actually
Uh-huh.
had this. Yeah, if I can spell true, but yeah, maybe I can. We actually, I decided to initially disable this, but now we will just put it to true.
Yeah,
And I don't think we see, or we actually did the one we just created is actually here as db diagram.md.
right.
Let's just delete that, and then we will actually rebuild the project. And it actually created a diagram
Nice.
as part of the build. So
Yeah.
meaning that when you make changes to your schema and build your
Uh-huh.
project, the diagram will immediately reflect any changes that you have made to the schema for your database. This
That's
includes all the
awesome. Yeah.
objects, of course.
So yeah.
Yeah,
So it's always up to date, everything. Nice.
exactly. And you can have it in source control. You can share it with
Yeah.
people. Yeah. Yes. We haven't really spoken a lot about deployment, but essentially it's a question about using a tool, a .NET tool called SQL Package, which has a publish command. I think it was hinted at in this documentation page I showed initially. Let's see if we can find it again. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. For example, we can use SQL Package or other tools. I'm not sure what those other tools are. At the end of the day, it's called the DarkFX API or SQL Package to do
Right.
the deployment. A SQL Package is a .NET tool which you can just install with like one command on your build server, and then you just run this SQL Package action
Right. Yeah.
publish your dark pack and then the connection string of your production or test or development database. Yeah. With that, I'm just going to say, any questions?
Yeah, let's go through questions. There's a few of those. One of those questions is the extension available on Open V6?
I think Open V6 is a alternative marketplace for VS Code extensions. I'm not sure that this extension is for SQL Server Management Studio and Visual Studio. So the answer to that question is no. I don't know if the Microsoft extension is available on OpenVSX, but the Microsoft extension is definitely available on VS Code Marketplace, which is the one you see inside VS Code.
And then we have a couple of not really questions, but something that will definitely make your day, or maybe a couple of days. This is why I really like the Power Tools. Absolutely.
Well, that certainly made my day. Thanks a lot, Carl Edwards.
Another one, amazing feature.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Another one, SQL project, so much power.
So much power, yes. With great power comes great responsibility, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we have a question that the latest one, does VS26 support SQL SDK now?
No, it does not. But there's an item on VS Community where you can say you need it, and it will be taken into consideration by the team. I'm not working for the team, but I know that they're monitoring the feedback on this all the time. In the meantime, you can use our community project. It works really well, as I just demonstrated in VS26 Insiders, and also the released version of VS26, and can do everything for you, and create diagrams, and create the database projects as NuGet packages.
Awesome.
Yes.
So I think we are slowly running out of time.
Mm-hmm.
This time we will actually be probably on time. So that's great. Nobody will be shouting at me later for being overtime and stuff like that. That's fine. Well,
that's okay. I suppose it's okay then.
It's absolutely okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Erik, for being on the show. You mentioned.
You're welcome, and thanks a lot for having me.
And if you can do some follow-up with the analysis rules and stuff like that.
Yes.
So I will keep in touch. Yes. Guys, if you want to have this show and have Erik again, just send us some messages or create some issues in EFCore repo that, I want to really know more about analysis tools and stuff like that. So we have some leverage to tell Erik, you need to come back. This is a really important topic. We will be back again next month with another show. I cannot say the topic yet. It will be a surprise. Also, give it a try. Give the .NET 11, EFCore 11 a try. As I said, basically the preview 7 on our internal systems is cooking as we speak. So next time we will be in a final stretch. So any changes, any major changes are going to be way more difficult than today. And if you find something, report it now. And even if you don't find anything that's confusing or anything that does not work, it's always nice to have feedback like, hey, I give it a try on our project or stuff like that. Everything works fine because we are looking for it works feedback, and also, hey, there is a bug, because if we don't see it works, then it's kind of like, oh, probably it works. Nobody's reporting issues, but it can be a different thing. So with that, we are definitely on time this time. So that's awesome. See you again next week. Well, no, next week, next month. And I hope we will have Erik in the future again with some more deep dive stuff on SQL projects or any maybe new power tools that he creates in the meantime. Thank you, Erik. And see you next time.